Welcome in everyone, I'm Limcube, I'm a Breath of the Wild speedrunner, and I'm going to 100% this game, bit by bit every single day, until Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel, comes out in 182 days. While I do that, I talk about various topics, from internet culture to gaming, etc. If you want to, you can have this in the back, enjoy the Breath of the Wild vibes. I would appreciate it if you joined me. Currently, I realized that I'm out of rupees, so I can't actually purchase the Gerudo armor. So what I will be doing instead is something that I was planning to do next. I'm gonna be getting some rupees along the way. I need to collect some food. I'm planning to get multiple durians and hearty meals. And while I do that, I want to have a little bit of a brainstorming session. I recently talked about a lot in this series what I really like about video games, which is min-maxing. I think this comes natural. First of all, what does min-maxing mean? There's multiple ways to play a video game. The most obvious one is just to do what the developers intend, beat the game, you know, play through a story, etc. But what I refer to when I say min-maxing, and this is what speedrunning already kind of does inherently, is playing a game optimally. In a speedrun, that means playing a game as fast as you can, choosing the best weapons, the best equipment to beat a game, because usually that means that it's also pretty fast, etc. And that's at least true for this game, right? For example, we collect ancient arrows in the any % route because they are faster to kill Ganon with than, let's say, normal arrows. Well, the time that it loses to get the ancient arrows ends up paying off. I guess that's a good example. In other games though, min-maxing can already be applied in a non-speedrunning context. For example, yesterday I was talking a lot about Genshin Impact, a game in which you can build your characters in different ways and can optimize your team by choosing different units to put into your team, choosing different equipment on those characters to make them perform as good as possible. And I was thinking, with Tears of the Kingdom coming up in 182 days, how would I add gameplay to Tears of the Kingdom to make the game more interesting for people that min-max? And an immediate idea that I had is from another game that I'm actually currently basically playing 8 hours a day. I haven't been streaming these last days because I'm playing Hollow Knight pretty much whenever I have free time, and I'm practicing the speedrun. In Hollow Knight, there's something called charms. There's actually only one charm that you currently get in the any % speedrun. What these charms do is they make you, your character, in Hollow Knight, that's the knight, stronger. Good example is, let's say the knight in Hollow Knight, a playable character, has a weapon. The weapon is called the nail, and usually the nail does 10 damage. There's a charm called Unbreakable Strength, which increases your nail damage by 50%. In that case, if your nail did 10 damage, it would now do 15. There's only so many charms you can equip in Hollow Knight. You can't have all of them equipped at the same time and make this extremely powerful build. You have to choose which charms to equip to basically form a build. And I think that mechanic in general, the charms, would be a really great addition to Tears of the Kingdom. They would probably not be called charms, maybe, and this is actually an interesting idea. Let's just assume this for the sake of this brainstorm and this video, because I kind of want to talk about it. Let's assume that the tiers in Tears of the Kingdom act the same way that charms do. Let's say there's 7 tiers and every tier has a different... Or maybe actually, let's say there's like 40 tiers, okay? But you can only have 7 tiers equipped at the same time in this little vial that Link has on the promotional art. And today I wanted to brainstorm, with this game in mind and what we know about Tears of the Kingdom already, how could a cool tier / charm in Tears of the Kingdom look like? How could charms work in this game? What would be interesting abilities for charms? And again, I haven't thought this through. This is basically like a live brainstorming session. I would also afterwards be very interested to hear if you have any interesting ideas how a charm would look like in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. But obviously, I think what I would start with first is the obvious addition that I just talked about, which would be some sort of buff. So, in this game, currently you can basically stack 2 level 3 buffs at once. What does this mean? So in this game, armor, food, oh, I take that fairy, armor, food, and food can give you different buffs. So for example, there's armor in the game that increases your attack power by 1. And if you have 3 pieces of that armor on, your attack power is increased by 3, which results in a 50% damage buff. Food can also increase your attack power. So there's food that can increase your attack power up to the level 3 attack buff. Now these buffs don't stack. Well, they stack if you have 2 pieces of armor on that give you an attack buff, and consumed food that gives you an attack buff of 1. They stack up to level 3. Level 3 being the highest attack buff that you can get. But you can't have level 3 attack up armor and level 3 attack up food. Also, somebody's cringing here because I'm using my best weapon to cut these trees. But honestly, the durability of it is pretty bad anyway. And I value the food more right now. But I should probably be using a different weapon. But at this point, I'm just going to get rid of it. So, again, you can't have 2 level 3 buffs active at once. That simply doesn't work. Level 3 is the maximum. It wouldn't stack up to level 6, giving you like a 100% buff. But what you can technically do is you could have a level 3 attack up armor on, and also a level 3 defense buff food active at the same time. Which means you could have the best defense buff and the best attack buff at the same time. They would work together. Now, if there was tiers or charms in the game, that would give you another option. So, for example, we could consume the level 3 speed food in the game, and then also wear the level 3 attack up armor, and then maybe also have a charm that increases your attack power, defense power by 50%. Or another interesting idea is maybe the tiers or the charms would actually stack with the attack buff. So now if we're wearing level 3 attack up armor, the charm that also gives us a 50% attack buff would actually stack on top of that, making Link even stronger. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about min-maxing. Also, we don't have the best weather today in-game. At least the rain sounds are cozy. But this is what I exactly mean with min-maxing. The strongest DPS build in Tears of the Kingdom would be to use both attack up armor and also the attack up charm / tier to reach the highest DPS possible. So an obvious inclusion, in my opinion, would be an offensive charm / tier that allows you to increase your attack power even further. Another interesting one, in my opinion, especially when it comes to casual play and almost like an obvious inclusion, would be a charm or a tier that decreases stamina consumption. It's not really an issue anymore with speedrunning strats that we have, like wind bombs, etc. But assuming that they're going to be patched out in Tears of the Kingdom, it would be quite useful to have a charm that decreases your stamina consumption. So when you're gliding, when there's sections where you actually have to use bullet time a lot, that charm could be pretty powerful. Another cool idea, in my opinion, would be if, maybe it would be a little bit broken, but it could be a cool idea to have a charm that costs, so I haven't even talked about the cost yet. While I'm making this video, I almost feel like I want to think this through a little bit more and make it like a real video on my main channel. Actually design charms. I guess this is more like a brainstorming session right now. But actually design charms for Zelda. And also think about the fact how many slots would they cost. Again, because in Hollow Knight, the way charms are balanced is that the strongest charms, they cost 3 notches. Again, the maximum amount of notches in Hollow Knight is 11, so once you have 11 charm notches filled, you basically, there's a small exception, can't equip any more charms. So the stronger the charm is, the higher, the more it should cost, the more notches it should cost to equip them. Maybe some of our tiers, potential tiers in Tears of the Kingdom, would they would also cost multiple tier like vials. You have 7 slots, let's say you have 7 slots, and the most powerful ones would cost you 3 just to equip. And one that would be a little bit more offensively costed, which in my opinion would be pretty cool, would be, for example, one that makes it so that bullet time doesn't lose stamina. I think this could make for some really cool moments where when you go in bullet time, you can stay in it as long as possible. As long as you're falling, You could clear entire rooms mid-air. Maybe it would be too powerful. Obviously, you can't really know without having played with it. Another cool one, and this is kind of stolen from Genshin Impact a little bit, could be charms that actually help you exploring. In Genshin Impact, some characters have abilities to help you find materials in the world. And obviously, when Tears of the Kingdom is going to be new, we won't know much about the game yet, so a charm like that could be crucial. And what I'm talking about would be, what if there was a charm that helps you track, or tier, I'm going to just call them charms for now, I think you get the point, that helps you track ingredients. So whatever ingredient you last pick up, the charm will like mark on the mini-map for you or something, or it will help you navigate to more of those materials, helping you explore in a way. Like this game solved it, for example, with the Korok mask, but I would really think it would be cool to have, on top of armor and food buffs, one more layer to kind of like change Link's build around. It could also be really cool to have charms that are catered towards specific weapon types. That way there could be different builds. Like there would be one build, for example, that's very focused on, let's say, spears, because there's a charm, and this is going to be stealing from Elden Ring here a little bit, but let's say there was another charm that the faster you hit enemies in a row, the more damage you get. So with a weapon like the spears, that in this game, I don't know if I have a spear on me right now, I don't think so, that have pretty fast hit rate, the faster you hit the enemies, the easier it is to stack that charm up to maybe get a very powerful attack buff. And you could maybe couple this with the other charm that increases your attack power overall. Basically, the point that I'm making is, depending on what weapon you like using, you could adjust your charm build to make that more powerful. So let's say that charm that increases your damage the faster you hit enemies would be really good with spears, maybe kind of good with one-hand swords, because you can hit with them quite fast. Also, I'm finding so many random fairies in the ground. I'll take that. So it would be really good for that sort of thing. Spears and one-hand weapons, but maybe there would be another charm that makes it so that, let's say, maybe there would be another charm that makes it so that you can't be interrupted when you spin attack, a different ability. So now when you spin around, you have like this shield around you that makes it so that you can't be interrupted. A charm that would be really good for two-hand weapons, which are the only weapons you can actually use to spin attack with. There could be a charm that's especially interesting for magic. I feel like the rods, the elemental rods in this game are a little bit underwhelming. They have their uses, again, especially because certain enemies in this game are especially weak to fire or ice, where you can essentially one-shot them. But it would be cool to be able to have a build where magic is actually your main source of damage. Maybe there could be a charm where instead of shooting 3 of these orbs, you shoot 6, you shoot 9. Maybe there is a charm that increases magical abilities by 100%, which again, that sounds more broken than the ones I've talked about in the weapon context, but I think that's exactly what makes it so interesting. That adds another layer of balancing the game, making different builds in Breath of the Wild viable. And again, I haven't thought this through. There's probably 600 other charm possibilities. I would really like to know from you if you think that's something that sounds interesting in your opinion. If that's something that you would think would be too complicated for a game like Tears of the Kingdom that's already going to have a massive world, etc. But I think the potential is great. Also, let me know if you do like the idea of it. Not only what charms you would create, but also if I should maybe make a video about this. I almost feel like, because I've kind of been dabbling in both Hollow Knight and Breath of the Wild content obviously recently, that this could be a very good full video where I actually sit down and design charms. Maybe not only in terms of the abilities that the charms will do, but maybe even make like a little bit of an icon for them, explain them a little bit more in depth, and go a little bit more into this topic. I think for today's little play session that might be too much, but if I actually sat down and prepared appropriately, I think that could make for a really cool video. But let me know if you agree. Maybe you think this idea is stupid. I would actually like to know that. Maybe you have an idea how to make it better. And I'm especially interested, because now I started thinking about it, what charm ideas you have. I'm going to be cooking these foods here real quick. It's basically going to allow me to get a huge health bar. Also, the blinking of this thunder rod is actually making me kind of sick. Let's cook these radishes. And I still haven't actually been able to collect all of the money that I need to buy the Gerudo armor. So let me actually teleport back. I know there's some gemstones in this area. And take care of that real quick. Maybe I'll think of one more idea for a charm. Thinking about Hollow Knight, there's charms that... actually, that's an easy one, right? There's a charm that gives you more movement speed. That's one that immediately sounds interesting for speedrunning. And also, these charms, you wouldn't just have them from, like, right away. They would obviously be hidden as rewards, which is a thing that actually in Breath of the Wild... I haven't talked about this before, but now that I think about it, especially in the context of the games that I took inspiration from for this, was kind of underwhelming. Rewards in shrines would usually be always the same, right? You'll find a random gemstone, you'll find some rupees, you maybe find a new shield or a weapon, but usually rewards inside shrines in this game are kind of underwhelming. So if you instead had this charm system where there could be interesting charms that you can now find in different shrines that might potentially completely change the way you've been playing the game, I think suddenly that's much more exciting. Again, games like Elden Ring and Hollow Knight especially have used this in the past, and those were some of my favorite moments. Finding a new weapon, finding a new charm to change the way I would potentially play the game was always super exciting. And I think this game can take this idea, transform it slightly, and still be and still would still be really good. I think that idea almost works perfectly with a game like Breath of the Wild. Especially when since in Tears of the Kingdom we're probably already adding more things to the game. We've already seen that flamethrower that is attached to Link's shield, if you recall, in one of the teasers. What if one of our charms would make it so that instead of only shooting a little bit of a flame beam, Link would now shoot kind of like a flame wave. So it would be the beam that flamethrower emits would maybe now be a cone, allowing you to hit more enemies at the same time, and maybe making a flamethrower build viable instead of it just being a gimmick. Again, these were kind of like a loose, as usual, as these videos usually are, a collection of the thoughts I have about the concept. And actually, while talking about that, I think I've become even more interested in this idea and almost want to go into more depth in a video where I'm maybe a little bit more prepared than one of these random play sessions. I need 90 more rupees. I kind of don't want to sell the ancient cores. They're a little bit more rare than these parts, so I'm probably going to sell them first. When I want to 100% the game later, we do need to upgrade our... I guess technically we don't need to upgrade stasis and bombs to stasis plus and bombs plus. But I kind of want to do it anyway because those abilities are pretty powerful. But let me go up here. We're going to be ending this episode pretty close to where it started, but I have a lot more equipment now. And I guess I never talked to the person over there that tells me about this outfit in the first place. So once again, we go back. But this is where I'm going to be ending the episode then, so that next time I can actually buy the Gerudo armor, then go through the Yiga hideout and start our attack on Varnaboris. Ideally, everything in one episode, so that we have the first 2 Divine Beasts done. I think my focus here is going to be to first finish all Divine Beasts, then start going for shrines around the world. And then once we have all of these war points and all of the abilities, it's going to be a pretty big Korok hunt, that's for sure, because that's the main way how we're going to get our percentage up to 100. And then we also are going to have to finish some quests. But we still have 182 days until Tears of the Kingdom comes out. Tomorrow it's going to be 181. Again, time has been flying. We're suddenly getting really close to 160 days. Before I know it, we're going to be under 100 days. And then I feel like the countdown is truly on. But this is where I'm going to end today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in again tomorrow when I talk about another random topic. I'll see you there.